And take a one last look at your traffic conditions. Gardner's Terrace Road at Highway 321, also Garners Ferry Road at Lower Richland Boulevard, and Longs Pond Road at Two Notch Road. And as we mentioned all morning, the forecast going to be 92 today and tomorrow. Have those chances for pop up afternoon storms really throughout this weekend into the weekend. Gets a little bit warmer as the week progresses 94, 95 on Thursday and Friday, and then 96 over the weekend. But it is warming up nicely already. 81, but it feels like 87. So it's summertime, everybody. 1075, the game.
Oh, 9 o'clock on your Tuesday morning. Welcome in day number 2 of SEC Media Days live from Digital Drive here in the College Football Hall of Fame in downtown Atlanta. I am Tyler Head. Back in the studios, back in Columbia, is none other than Jack Veltri. Jack hopefully made it home safely yesterday. How is everything? Now that we're all here in Atlanta, how is everything back in Columbia?
It's nice. It's nice and peaceful here. I guess not a lot of ruckus with all you maniacs back here. So yeah, we're doing good here. I think Jen's doing good. I'm doing good. We're here.
Jen, is the building staff celebrating they're not having to deal with us today?
Well,
this week?
I wouldn't call it a celebration, but I still am fighting the whole digital drive, whatever. It's still Radio Row in my heart.
Like,
yeah, not a great name.
No,
I lost count of how many times I messed that up yesterday.
And it's
like,
okay.
Everything's just Radio Row, Super Bowl, this, March Madness, whatever it may be. That I'm gonna have to get used to it. There's a big sign right by the elevators. I'm looking at that says Digital Drive, so I need to keep looking up for my reference point every time I say that, I guess.
Don't like it.
It's not very pretty, that sign either.
Oh wow, so that's even worse.
Yeah,
you would think it'd be pretty and techy.
It's a big circular sign, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Just says Digital Drive, and then you have the SEC logo. It's not not very pretty.
It's one of those that it's an opportunity to take a picture in front of, be like, hey, we were at Media Days. But yeah, I don't know. I've just gone past it. I haven't taken a picture in front of it yet, I guess.
Yeah. So everything seemed pretty good back in Atlanta. I'll tell you what, man.
Yeah.
The getting out of there, probably, the traffic was not too bad. I hit a little bit of that Atlanta traffic. The Beyonce concert. When I left yesterday, people were already getting set up, and I didn't see anyone in Beyonce shirts, but because she came out with that last album, that country album, everyone was in boots and cowgirl hats and stuff. It was crazy. So the traffic, not as bad as people say. I would admit, though.
I will say, and again, I've grown up in Atlanta my entire life, going to plenty of events and working in and out of the city myself. I've seen traffic at its absolute worst, where it's taken 2+ hours just to go, 30 miles or something along those lines. But knock on wood, my drive home yesterday, not bad. My driving this morning, not that bad. So hopefully, maybe it's because school's out. I don't know, but things have gotten off to a decent start when it comes to the traffic, and hopefully it stays that way for the next 2 days.
Yeah, hopefully so. And now today's the only so you got SEC Media Days, you got the All-Star game tonight.
Yep.
By the way, the Derby, pretty entertaining last night. Did you see O'Neal Cruz with that 513-foot home run?
Yeah, God, that thing's probably still flying. And Cal Raleigh winning it, which, again, I just love the name Big Dumper. Like, you call someone Big Dumper, I'm going to become a fan of that person, which I am of Cal Raleigh. And watching him hit home runs last night was really cool. I'm really glad that they've gone back to the outs type of format, at least for the back end, because it just adds more drama. right? Because you're hinging on every pitch. It's not the beat the clock type of thing. So I enjoyed that element of it. Last night was fun. Congrats to Cal Raleigh. It's a bummer that Ronald Acuna Jr. didn't get to compete in it because just how eccentric and out there he is. He'd be fun to be a part of it. Olsen obviously did the best job that he could, but hopefully we get a fun All-Star game coming up tonight.
Yeah, hopefully so. Should be a good one. Paul Skeens, Tariq Skubal on the mound. So that'll at least be a very entertaining pitching matchup to watch.
How many Livy Dunn camera cuts do we get while Skeens is out there?
I'm cool with doing a Livy Dunn camera cut as long as there's a, at the bottom of the screen, it just says Livy Dunn, who recently got denied for buying Babe Ruth's apartment. That would be the cherry on top.
That would be really, really funny. Either that or just like girlfriend of Paul Skeens, not like make no reference of her gymnastics career or that she made more NIL than I guess any other female athlete ever has. Like just Paul Skeens' girlfriend. That would be pretty funny if that's the only thing they refer to her as.
Yeah, I'm good with that. If she's there tonight, which I'm sure she will be, probably
she was there last night, I think.
Okay, so probably gonna see her a bunch on the screen. I would say over under like 6 times maybe, depending on. I mean, for one inning of Paul's. Yeah, you never know, man. You never know.
I will set the line at 2.5. How about that?
Okay, I'll take the over on that. I'll take the over by plenty.
I'll go just under at 2. She's definitely going to get shown in whatever box or suite. I don't know. Maybe she'll be sitting with his family or something like that in the stands. But yeah, you're definitely going to see some Livy Dunn tonight when watching the MLB All-Star Game, which again is right up the road in Atlanta. Definitely the place to be. As I said yesterday, it is where the players play, quite literally, when it comes to the All-Star Game. But yeah, fun times in Atlanta. And I did, as I was leaving yesterday, did see the flood of people. It was a lot heavier because I left about 5 of everybody walking over to Mercedes-Benz Stadium with cowboy hats, cowboy boots, and all that kind of stuff, getting ready for, I believe that was the extra show.
Yeah.
So she had 3 shows scheduled, and then they added a 4th one. Elijah's confirming this next to me. But Beyonce came in and took over the city of Atlanta this weekend.
Oh my God, wait, sure. Hold on. I thought she only had 2. But then added a 3rd one just because of demand. You're telling me this woman had 4 shows?
Wait, did she do one on Sunday night?
Yeah, she did one on Sunday.
Okay, because my wife went to Friday nights. I'm assuming there was one on Saturday.
There had to have been.
I think it was 4.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Which
gosh. I can't. She made more money in probably like 20 minutes than we're ever going to see in our entire lifetimes. Oh, let's be honest
Easily. I can't even imagine.
But yeah, fun times to be in Atlanta and obviously fun to be out here at SEC Media Days. We'll get into a little what Coach Beamer had to say yesterday and our overall takeaways from South Carolina's portion of Media Days in just a second. But Jen, it is 9 o'clock. Hit that Sandstorm pick-me-up. It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, the George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803-ALL-9s. Again, yesterday, Coach Beamer and the player representatives, Lenore Sellers, DQ Smith, and Nick Barrett, all on site here talking to the media. Lenore Sellers and DQ Smith sat down with us for a little bit and was obviously a very, very positive day for South Carolina as they are thought of as being one of the better teams in the conference this year compared to a year ago. And cut number 5 here, Jen, one of Beamer's biggest messages when talking in the main room yesterday was, obviously trying to improve on what they did a year ago, where they're just on the cusp of making their first college football playoff appearance.
You look back at, the things you did well the previous season, the things you didn't do well the previous season, and figure out how you're going to improve and be better. And we did a lot of good last season, but there's a lot that we need to be better at offensively, defensively, and special teams. So we go to work at doing that. We go to work developing our roster, and then just realizing that every year it's a brand new year, now more so than any other. I mean, there's going to be guys here this week at SEC Media Day representing their teams that have never played a game in the SEC. And that's not a negative. I'm not knocking them, but it's just a point, making the point that people's rosters are completely different every single season, and we'll be picked higher this week than what we were last year when y'all did the picks in Dallas, just because we won 9 games and we bring back our quarterback. But also understanding that none of that matters, because every year is a new year. There's a lot of new faces all across the SEC, and for us, it's just continue to work and just let's continue to try and get better and take this thing farther in 25.
And Jack, one thing that I brought up quite a bit leading up to media days is that this year is an opportunity for South Carolina to, I think, solidify themselves in a lot of people's minds, because as Beamer mentioned there, a lot of times when it comes to media polls, when it comes to the perception of South Carolina at an event like this, it all stems on what happened the season before. So again, a year ago, coming off 5-7, missing bowl game, people kind of assumed, okay, that's going to be kind of what South Carolina is going to be again this next upcoming season. If South Carolina goes out there and has another strong campaign this year with Lenore Sellers, that's kind of the thought, of this week is, hey, they're going to be one of those better teams in the SEC once again. And if you can back up a 9-win campaign and just missing out on the playoffs this year with, let's say, making your first playoff or at least winning 9 games again and being in that factor, once again, I think it solidifies in a lot of people's minds that this team isn't one that's going to be wishy-washy. It's one that's going to be consistent going forward. Now, yes, next year you'd be talking about even harder reset because you might be losing Lenore Sellers to the NFL, but talking about striking while the iron's hot can really change people's perception of what this program is or has been in recent years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there. I think the preseason poll, whenever that comes out, I think on Friday. So
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, so at the end of the week, whenever that comes out, we know South Carolina is going to be, I would assume, a lot higher in the polls. I mean, obviously you have a lot of great SEC teams in there, but South Carolina is still viewed as one of those teams that had a really nice year last year, surprised a lot of people, obviously, and then the expectations are high. I mean, they're going to be ranked this year in the AP poll whenever that does come out. I would assume probably top 15, and when you have a quarterback like Lenore Sellers, you always have a chance to win, and I think people are probably expecting this team to win 10 games. Now, there are a lot of ways in which this team could also win 9 games, 8 games, etc. The schedule is tough as usual, but whenever you have someone like Sellers out there in the backfield, in the pocket, you always have a chance to win. And so I think people's expectations are high for that reason alone. And then you see what South Carolina has on defense. They're losing a lot. Dylan Stewart. So that's a good place to start. Hope the rest of the guys kind of fall in and are hopefully just as good as what you lost last year, specifically with the transfers that you had coming in last year that really wowed you. That's what you hope to have this year.
And he touched on it a little bit there in that quote that we played, but he also talked about it separately yesterday as well. The retention for South Carolina, or at least the guys they had the opportunity to retain, was really, really high in terms of not really having anybody leave in the transfer portal that was a significant contributor a year ago. And that's something that we talked about through the winter and the spring. Every time the portal window was open, you're always on pins and needles like, man, I really hope somebody huge, like a DQ Smith, like a Jalen Kilgore, like a Mazio Bennett doesn't hop in the portal and go and try and continue their careers elsewhere. And yeah, you obviously lost some guys that were depth pieces, which happens to every single team now. That's just the nature of college football. But Carolina really came out on the winning side in terms of guys that, had the ability to come back, that were proven commodities a year ago, that chose to stay at South Carolina and not go somewhere else. And again, Lenore Sellers top of that list. We now know that he was offered millions of dollars to go to Auburn and said, nah, I'm good. I like what I have here in Columbia.
Yeah, I mean, and you hear him get asked a lot about that yesterday. You hear it on different, Radio Row, obviously SEC Network. I mean, Media Gaggle, etc. I mean, that was the main question, staying at South Carolina and stuff. And, he basically said, he's got everything he needs here at home. So why would you leave, right? It's close to home. It's just, it has everything you need, like I said. And because he's back this year, look, people are expecting him to have a breakout year, better than he was last year. If he's any bit as good as the player that he was in that month of November, he's going to have a great year, and he's going to be right in the thick of the Heisman conversation and competing for potentially something bigger than just himself, something bigger for the team potentially down the road.
Yeah, and again, if Sellers has a phenomenal season and lives up to that hype, then South Carolina should fall in line with all that as well, that we're certainly excited to watch as this season unfolds. A lot of things to get to here from Media Days, day number 1. By the way, coming up at the end of the hour, Rich Clark, the executive director of the college football playoff. Going to be sitting down with us at 9:40 to talk about everything going on with the CFP. But we'll dive in to what some of the other coaches had to say coming up next, because you had Lane Kiffin, Brian Kelly, and Clark Lee also speaking yesterday as we're live at SEC Media Days. Got to thank our partners at Lawyer Lisa. Need to talk estate planning, elder law, elder care, or probate? Call Lawyer Lisa at 803-563-1613 or go to lawyerlisa.com. More from Digital Drive, live at SEC Media Days at College Football Hall of Fame. Up next here on the game. Tyler Head here for our friends over at Twin Peaks. Whether I'm in Columbia or Atlanta or anywhere around the world, I'm always excited to tell you what's going on with our friends over at the Lodge. And this week, I've been telling you about it. It's the Bikini Week costume party going on all week long, where you can score specials on your favorite beverages, including those 29-degree drafts to keep you cool, refreshing cocktails and cheap shots. You can also bring the crew in to grab watermelon margaritas topped with watermelon Red Bull or Paloma to beat the heat. And of course, as I mentioned, there's bikinis everywhere. It's never a bad time with our friends over at Twin Peaks, taking in all that great sports action and everything else they have in store with the food, drinks, and so much more. All their friends at Twin Peaks right down the street with us. And again, there's never a bad time to go there, no matter the time of year, whatever sport is on TV. Get yourself down to Twin Peaks, hang out, have some drinks, have some food, and have a great time at Twin Peaks right down the street from us in the Vista.
Well, someone said that coming in here to me. I like Coach Freeze, so I think they think that was something to do with, like, I was fishing and it was golfing. That really wasn't that. I have a thing with him going back a few years ago, and he like posted a picture like in response to me of like some 2-pound bass or something like that. So I've kind of always posted bigger fish pictures back towards him. So that had nothing to do with his golf game, which sounds like he's doing amazing at that. So that's great for him.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point live from Digital Drive here at the College Football Hall of Fame. Tyler Head along with you. Jack Veltri back in Columbia in studio. Of course, that was the voice of Lane Kiffin, head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels, talking yesterday out in the main room. And we knew Lane, when he took to the podium, was going to say something that may get some people stirred up. That was his response to a question regarding Hugh Freeze and his golf game that's becoming infamous out there in Auburn, and Lane's response to his latest golf picture. But according to Lane, hey, that had nothing to do with what's going on with recruiting. He was just having a friendly little back and forth with his buddy after, the whatever they did with fishing back in the day. Your scale of believability on what he actually said there?
Yeah, and you could see, he just tags Hugh Freeze in all these posts on Twitter and stuff. It's always funny, honestly. And I like Lane and having, his little banter and stuff. I think it's, it's entertaining, honestly. So I don't have a real problem with it. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's something that, you always have to take a little bit of grain of salt with Lane, I would say. But, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it's believable.
Well, and then Preston and Elijah labeled it dry snitching when he talked about teams that were spending over the revenue cap. Hey, it's not us, but there's some people out there doing it. So yeah, Lane certainly had a couple quotable things yesterday, which again, whenever he gets to a podium or gets in front of a microphone, that's what we hope to hear from him, right? Like you're disappointed if you come away saying, well, I didn't really get anything good out of that.
If you're not laughing or smiling at something Lane Kiffin's saying, then you're doing it wrong. So it's highly entertaining listening to him speak.
By the way, I didn't realize how tan he was until seeing him in person yesterday. I'm like,
oh, man.
Well, goodness. Either he at the tanning salon or he just spends a lot of time outside.
Yeah, well, hey, all that fishing he does with his kids and stuff, posting about how he's catching the biggest fish possible. So, yeah, definitely because of that, I would say.
Obviously, his team's in an interesting position as, we talk about championship windows. It felt like last year was as good a time as any for them if they were going to win a national championship or get at least in the college football playoff. And they obviously came up short, taking over at quarterback or playing the transfer portal, but not nearly as much as they were a year ago when it comes to high-end talent. And I'm interested to see, how much farther back down to earth they come this year.
It really did feel like last year, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Tyler, if you feel differently, but it really felt like they kind of put all their chips in the bag last year, or eggs in one basket last year. And, they did it through the portal. They brought in so many guys, and you thought, like, okay, this is playoff or bust. Honestly, championship or bust, just because of how many good players they brought in. And where'd that leave them? 9-3 in the regular season and missing the playoffs. So it's something where last year I felt like definitely was your window. A lot of those guys are gone now. You can always have a new window open, but you weren't as active in the portal. So I feel like that window is kind of closed a little bit for this year to go make the college football playoff. Again, things could happen, but the schedule is always tough in the SEC. And there are a lot of teams that I would argue are probably better than Ole Miss right now. And we don't know how Austin Simmons is going to be under center. Obviously, what he did in the Georgia game last year was impressive, but that's a small sample size to look at. How's he going to do over a full season? If he does pretty good, I think Ole Miss can have a really nice year. But again, I just think they are going to not be as good as they were last year.
Speaking of teams and windows, LSU is one of those teams that's looking at an opportunity to try and chase a championship this year. Let's hear from Brian Kelly and what he had to say yesterday about Garrett Nussmeier. Cut number 16 here, Jen.
Garrett is at LSU because he loves LSU, and he wants to lead our football team to a championship. And if the Heisman follows with that, I think he's good with that. But I answer the question this way is because all of our conversations with him aren't about individual goals. They're about how do I lead this football team to a championship? And all we've seen is him leading, him being selfless. And his selflessness is going to be the differentiator from last year to this year, as well as the experience that he had playing against really good SEC teams.
Again, Brian Kelly yesterday talking about Garrett Nussmeier there out at SEC Media Days. And, much like Lenore Sellers here at South Carolina, he's a guy that's being looked at as one of the favorites for the Heisman, a first-round draft pick. And, it's kind of almost like deja vu to a couple seasons ago where he had Jaden Daniels, who ended up being the Heisman Trophy winner, but you didn't have enough help around him in terms of the defense being able to stop the other teams to put yourself in position to make the playoffs, make the SEC championship game, or any of those things. And last year, again, we talk about losing some games they had no business losing. They were in that position once again. So Kelly's been underachieving these past couple of years, given the talent that he's had, especially at quarterback. And, if they can't at least make the playoff this year, things going to get probably a little bit uncomfortable out there in Baton Rouge.
I would say so. I think this is a team that should make the playoffs. I think they are one of the better ones in the SEC, and you have a really good quarterback. I think, honestly, I know South Carolina fans probably don't like this, but I think he is the best quarterback in this conference by a little bit. I mean, he threw for over 4,000 yards last year. Yes, the interceptions were a little bit high, but some of the things he's able to do out there as a passer, he's not the best runner, obviously, but as a passer, he's as good as anyone I've seen in recent memory in college football. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Nuss does this year, and he's going to be a big part of LSU this year. Obviously, they have some good receivers out there. They lost a lot of their offensive line, which is going to be a big question mark coming into the year. But this is an LSU team that has to make the playoff, in my opinion, if Brian Kelly's seat is going to stay. It's not warm, I don't think, or hot right now. But, a bad season or missing the playoff would kind of turn up the temperature a little bit.
One more quick one here. Clark Lee also speaking yesterday, cut number 46 here, Jen. Clark Lee talking about shaking that losing mentality that Vanderbilt's had for a long time.
I learned pretty quickly at Vanderbilt just how damaged we were mentally. And I would say that's probably been the hardest part of this build is draining the program of that attitude, also shifting the ancillary aspects of our program from a losing approach to a winning approach. I mean, that's taken time, but I think at this point we can confidently say, hey, our expectation is to win. We know that winning isn't easy. We know that there are going to be ups and downs. The way we impact the outcome is to focus in the moment. And we have proof of concept that when we did those things a year ago, we were able to come out on top.
Now, as a head coach, that's exactly what you're supposed to say when asked about those kind of things when it comes to your team. But I feel like the folks in Nashville believe that more than they've believed in probably the past decade since James Franklin was there, given what that team accomplished last year.
This is a team that I think is going to be pretty good again this year. And, I think they're going to make a bowl game, I think, at Vanderbilt. You have Diego Pavia coming back. You have Eli Stowers at receiver. Those are two guys. I mean, that was Pavia's favorite target last year.
Well, they were teammates at New Mexico State before that.
Exactly. So having, as Pavia called it yesterday, the safety blanket with Stowers, that's going to help out a lot this year for sure. So I definitely see Vanderbilt being a little bit competitive. I mean, we'll see what happens early in the year when they play South Carolina. We'll have a good indication of where the doors are at. But this is a team that probably could win 6 games or more this year.
Yeah, that'll certainly be a fun matchup in Williams-Brice Stadium coming up in September. We'll come back, talk for a couple minutes. We do have Rich Clark from the College Football Playoff coming up at 9:40. But our boy Greg McElroy stirring up some controversy yesterday, talking about his old coach Nick Saban. We'll let you know what that is and talk about that coming up next as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head live from Digital Drive here in Atlanta at SEC Media Days here on The Game. Hey, Jen, did you see my text? Tyler Head here, excited to tell you as always about our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. I'm not in Columbia right now, but I imagine, as summer weather often is, there's probably not a thunderstorm too far off in the distance when it comes to the Midlands. And when you have a thunderstorm like that and you have an open crawl space under your home, you always need to be mindful of standing water under there. It can create so many problems with your home that can affect the way that you and your family live inside your home because it can invite things like mold, mildew, and pests like termites into your home. It can even affect the air that you and your family breathe, which of course you don't want to be breathing in nasty, moldy air. That's where our friends at Canty Foundation specialists come in. They will come out and evaluate your crawl space issues and get them fixed so you and your family can live without any worries going forward. Go online to schedule them today at cantycanfixit.com. They'll send a professional out to your home and get it fixed right just for you. cantycanfixit.com, our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialists. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you here on your Tuesday, live at Digital Drive here at SEC Media Days. Real quick, Jack, before we get to Rich Clark coming up here in a couple minutes, our guy Greg McElroy stirring up some controversy on Radio Row with his take on Nick Saban maybe returning to coaching. He did go on to clarify that a little bit later on the day. Cut number 48 here, Jen.
I don't know why anybody has come to that conclusion. I did have a couple of people that I respect say, don't rule out Coach getting back in it. He's too competitive. I think he loves the game too much. Like, don't rule it out. I'm like, no way. Come on. That was my reaction like everybody else.
Right.
Come on, get out of here. No, I was like, just saying, don't rule it out. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'll ask Paul. like Paul's connected. I'll ask him on the show on Monday. So I asked him point blank. I was like, Paul, I wouldn't ask the question if it weren't a couple people I trust and respect that seem to think that this is a possibility. And Paul and I both kind of laugh like, no, absolutely not. I don't see it as a likelihood. Like, he's completely content doing what he's doing. I don't get it. So I just am surprised that basically me asking Paul if he had more information on it has now turned into Coach Saban has taken the Miami Dolphins head coaching job.
Well, listen, Greg, when you say something about Saban like that, you're going to open yourself up to a lot of people taking it and running with it. Again, I'm glad that he clarified it, but a lot of buzz around Radio Row yesterday was like, wait a minute, did McElroy say Saban's coming back to coaching? What's going on here? But doesn't seem like it's going to be the case. But, man, could you imagine the headline if we saw Saban come out of retirement?
All I'll say is that would be pretty wild, to be honest. There are a few things here. He's 73 years old. He's got a great gig now at ESPN where he's doing little work, making a lot of money. And
he's not even here this week. He's got his feet kicked up on a lake somewhere, probably.
And he gets to play golf whenever he wants to at some of the best golf clubs out there.
And do all the chores that Miss Terry's had piled up for the past 40 years.
Okay, that's exactly where I was going to step in real quick, because you know darn well there's been a honey-do list that's been growing for the duration of his career. So, he's still ticking some of those off.
That whole, sorry, honey, I got to go meet a recruit or I got to go to practice.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't work anymore.
And I think Miss Terry would honestly tell him no if he wanted to go back and coach. I mean, it'd have to be a really nice job. And I just don't think we see Nick Saban get back into coaching. But you never know.
He doesn't need an agent anymore. She's his agent.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to be joined by Rich Clark of the College Football Playoff. He is the executive director coming up here in just a couple minutes. We're live at Digital Drive here in Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame for day 2 of SEC Media Days on your Tuesday here in the game. Again, it is the Extra Point. Tyler Head broadcasting live from Digital Drive here at SEC Media Days. We are set to be joined by Rich Clark, the Executive Director of the College Football Playoff, coming up here in just a moment. But while we wait on him, we'll remind you once again about our great partners that are allowing us to be out here at SEC Media Days this week. Told you about Lawyer Lisa a little bit earlier on. I'll also remind you about Game Day Men's Health. Game Day Men's Health offers convenient expert back care for all men looking to feel and perform their best. Call 803-919-7886 to book an appointment. And Jax, we wait on Rich to sit down with us here in just a couple of minutes. The college football playoff, obviously a hot button discussion really year round, and certainly was yesterday when Greg Sankey was talking to the media when it comes to finally, hopefully, deciding on a format here in the very near future for 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, and it seems like the SEC and the Big Ten, which he confirmed, have decision-making authority. They have different viewpoints on how the playoff should look in the future, whether it's the 5+11 model or the 4-4-2-2-1 format, which the Big Ten supports and the SEC supports the 5+11. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out here in the future. I feel like expansion is going to happen at some point here soon. Absolutely.
Sure.
We're going to move to 16. It's just whether it's the 5+11 or the 4-4-2-2-1.
Well, and I thought it was funny because let's be honest, all these commissioners, when they get up to speak at these respective media days, it turns into a you-know-what measuring contest sometimes. So they start taking jabs at each other. And basically, Greg Sankey's message yesterday was like, yeah, we don't really care what the Big 12 and the ACC think. We hold the power here, and they can come along if they want to, but we don't necessarily need you to do what we want to do when it comes to this playoff.
And I guess he's right in a way, because the SEC and the Big Ten are head and shoulders the power conferences in college football. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it's very intriguing to hear stuff like this.
Again, Rich Clark, the Executive Director of the College Football Playoff, hopefully going to be coming along here in just a couple minutes, as I'm sure he is right in the thick of those discussions when, God, how many times have they met this year alone, or at least we've read about their meetings? Hey, the powers that be are meeting in Nashville or Dallas or whatever to decide on the playoff format, and we still haven't come away with any new news on anything yet.
Yeah, it's getting to a point now where if they were to make a decision, I mean, are we talking about this happening for 2026? Is this something that it takes a little bit more time? I mean, I'm not sure exactly, but I'm looking forward to seeing expansion happen when it does. You know, hearing Shane Beamer talking about it a bit yesterday, he's all for it, obviously. And the point he made was it gets more teams in and creates more opportunities, and more teams have a chance to win a championship. So I'm all for it if that's the case.
And you know, again, Greg Sankey's job is to make money for the SEC and money for the member institutions. So the more representation you have in the college football playoff, obviously, the better that's going to be for the league. And yeah, when you talk about possibly expanding to 16, as we saw last year, you would have gotten 6 teams in, because you would have had South Carolina, Ole Miss, and Alabama, who just missed out on the 12-team playoff, all in that respective 16-team format, which, again, you know, only 1 year to go off of, kind of tells you that the SEC would benefit from that more likely than not, is maybe having more teams than anybody in the college football playoff on a given year basis, if it continues to be that kind of trend.
Now, let me ask you this, Tyler. What model are you in favor of, the 5-11 or the 4-4-2-2-1?
I kind of go back and forth. I see benefits for both. I think we're probably going to get to 5 and 11, so I've just kind of resigned myself to that fact at this point. So that's obviously what I'm hoping to see out of all the possible 16-team formats they could be trending towards whenever they do decide to ultimately come up and make a decision. So we will have to see.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the 5+11 is something that would be a lot easier. I think that's something to be pretty good.
All right, we do have Rich Clark, the Executive Director of the College Football Playoff, sitting down with us now to join us live here from Digital Drive on Radio Row. 1 second here. Let's get the right headphones hooked up to you. Yeah, sorry, that's our other device. Let's get this squared up here. Sorry about that. There we go. All right. You got me loud and clear?
I got
you
you,
now?
Tyler.
Right.
Yeah.
First of all, good. Thank you so much for joining us here, Rich. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So we were just talking about the playoff and the ongoing debate of what this is going to look like past 2025. When it comes to these meetings with the powers that be, what's your kind of role there, and how do you see all this as it's unfolding?
Yeah, no, great question. So my role in this is really to help facilitate the discussion for the conference commissioners. The 10 FBS conference commissioners and the athletic director from the University of Notre Dame makes up our management committee. And they are really the ones that make these decisions about what the format's going to look like and some of the other big ticket items in college football playoffs. So I see it unfolding in a very deliberate fashion because I think they're doing a good job. They take into account a lot of different, I'll say, elements of the playoffs, so that they're not making decisions that we're going to have to change in a couple of years. So I know a lot of people want to see it happen real fast. We're set for this coming year, though. I just want to make that clear. We know what this coming year's format is going to be. 12 teams, straight ranking, and we're not going to be reseeding in the quarters of conference champions or anything like that. So I think it's going to be really good. But the following year, there's a couple of different options. 12 teams, 14 teams, 16 teams. Do we have automatic qualifiers, or do we go with the straight ranking? And they're wrestling with a lot of that. So I will just say we're making progress, and you've probably read it kind of goes back and forth at times because there'll be some new revelation or something that will come out in the discussion, and then it gets out there. But it's like I've been a part of a lot of different decision-making processes, and this is not different than most of them. You have to go through the fire to get to that forged answer,
right?
And they're going through the fire right now, so we'll get there though.
Jack.
Hey, Rich, Jack Veltri here. First off, thank you for your service to our country. Really appreciate it. Just wanted to,
thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Just wanted to ask, how much urgency, speaking of the playoff, how much urgency is there to expand and get to potentially, like you mentioned, 14, 16, like how much urgency is there to move this thing along?
Well, yeah. So there's urgency because, first, we have a deadline of December 1st, really, that is for some contractual reasons so that we can get things moving for the next season, right? So December 1st is sort of the line that we have drawn. But the conferences have a lot of decisions that they have to make internally. And so I think for the commissioner's sake and for the conference's sake, they want to get to an answer sooner than that. So in my mind, and this is not a hard and fast deadline, but we need to have an answer this fall, probably in the September timeframe to have determined, maybe October, but we need to have this determined so that they can make some decisions internally about how they're going to schedule for the next season, for the 26th season. So there is a level of urgency, but we still do have some time, and the discussions are continuing.
Again, Executive Director of the College Ball Playoff, Rich Clark, sitting down with us here at Digital Drive at SEC Media Days. And you mentioned a moment ago, the talk is expansion to maybe 14 or 16 when you get to 2026. And, in the history of the College Ball Playoff, all of the talk has been about what's next. Okay, we're at 4, we're going to go to 8. Or, or we're at 12 now, we're going to go to 16. Is there like a line out there of like, okay, at some point expansion has to stop? Is 16 like the limit, or is something there down the line where it could be even more than that?
So in my mind, and again, this is just me talking, given the schedule of the regular season right now, 16, like we run out of, and there's just no more room to have a playoff, and we don't want to extend into February for the college football playoff. Our students have to go to school. Our athletes are still college students, and that matters, right? So I don't think that we could go past 16 unless something happened with the broader college football schedule. We changed the regular season schedule or something like that, and there's been no talk of that. So I believe that 16 is the cap on us, and even that is bumping up right on the limit. So
and off of that really quick, a lot of people talked about last year with the playoff expanding into the end of January. It was a lot of gap between games, basically 10 days between the quarters, the semis, and then the national championship. Is there any discussion of maybe changing the way that schedule is going to look going forward to where you're not going quite as deep into January, maybe adjusting the day the playoff championship game is going to be on or anything along those lines?
We haven't discussed that directly. I've heard it bantered around, but we have not had that discussion. And one of the reasons is because there is a very deliberate decision to have some time between the end of the regular season and the beginning of the playoff, just to give teams a little bit of recovery time, let them get their legs back up under them, injuries, healed, things like that. There is a possibility that we could eat into that, but it's not really a desired outcome. We want to give the teams that, that week plus in between the end of the season and the beginning. January 20th is about where we ended last year. That's about as late as we want to go, though. To your point,
Right?
Like that's pretty late into the year. We don't want to go any further past that. And looking honestly, if there was ways that we could walk it back, we would. But then we talk about expanding to 16, so
Sure.
that goes right out the window, right? So we're sort of at our limits, and we're going to do as best we can to get those games in if we do expand, but we don't have a lot more room to move the schedule.
Got about 2 more minutes here, Jack. Throw in one more question.
Yeah, how do you guys kind of balance what these different conferences want? Because you have, Brett Yormark from the Big 12 coming out last week talking about the 5+11 model and being in favor of that. Then you have obviously the SEC also seems to be in favor of that, and the Big Ten's in favor of the 4-4-2-2-1. How do you kind of try to come to a compromise? How do you kind of deal with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the thing that people have to realize is that each of the commissioners, their job is to support their conference. That is what they get hired to do. That is the expectation of them. And if they don't do that, they're not doing their job. They're not fulfilling their commitment. So they come into the room with what's best for their conference. But then they have to talk about it with respect and keep in mind what's good for all of college football. And that takes a lot of give and take, a lot of discussion that they have. Sometimes they're really hard discussions. But these are all professionals. They're all highly capable people. And I will not say that it's easy for them, because it's not. But it's like you said, there's a bit of give and take. There's sometimes a little bit of compromise here and there. But in the end, they will come to a good answer on this. And I liken it to Congress. You talk about a congressional member. If they're in the House of Representatives, they're representing their district. If they're a senator, they're representing their state. They know what their constituents want. They come into Congress and they talk about it and they work through it, but they got to do what's right for the country too, and for the greater good. So it takes a lot of compromise, reaching across the aisle, and that's what these commissioners have to do. They got to reach across the aisle all the time, work with people that they're going to be competing against, and really come to good answers for the greater good.
Last 30 seconds here. Do those conversations get heated? I know they're behind closed doors.
I don't really want to get into how heated they get, but I will just say sometimes I walk out of there, my eyebrows are gone.
Oh,
so no, I'm just kidding.
goodness.
I'm just kidding. I mean, they're intense, right? They're
Sure.
intense conversations, but again, they are professionals and they're going to treat each other with dignity and respect in the room. But they're not easy conversations, and so they're going to put it on the table. They're going to be honest with each other, and then they're going to walk out and shake hands and keep being great colleagues. So it's interesting.
Well, Mr. Clark, thanks so much for taking a little bit of time. I know it's a very, very busy week for you, but we're always down to talk college football playoff and this ongoing debate of what format's going to look like, and excited to see this finally come to fruition.
No, I love talking about it. I appreciate what you guys do for college football.
Thank you.
Keeping our fans engaged and educated, and for letting me be a part of your discussion today.
Absolutely. Thank you so
guys.
much. Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you. Thanks, Jack.
Thank
That'll
you
do
so
it
much.
Thanks,
For
Noah.
hour number one of the Extra Point. Coming up next, Garnet Trust Hour, re-racking some of our conversations yesterday with the Gamecock athletes, starting off with the North Sellers right at the jump at 10 o'clock. This is the Extra Point, live from Digital Drive here on the game.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Absolutely. You guys have a great day. If you ever need something, Brett Daniels, right? These are
The guy that came by earlier.
yeah.
Not only is Tyler Head, but is the one and only, the new face of South Carolina football, Lenoris Sellers. Mr. Sellers, Mr. Head, welcome to the program. Hope y'all are doing well.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hope you are well as well.
How's it going today, man?
Good.
Doing well. How's obviously a lot, very busy, very exciting. Be around here at media days. Your first trip here. What's the morning been like for you so far?
It's been interesting. I've seen a lot of stuff, met a lot of people, seen a lot of people from TV and stuff, shaking hands with a lot of people. So I mean, it's a fun experience.
Yeah, very cool.
Let's cut up with you for a few minutes here as I'm actually sitting here in the studio. I'm looking up and you're talking earlier to somebody. Let's start with the suit. Very nice, very calm, very almost similar to maybe a buddy of yours, Colin Murray Boyles, who a couple weeks ago in the draft was very professional. It appears to be on television a black suit with maybe a pastel garnet tie.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, give us a little breakdown on that. Did you choose that? Does the university hand it to? Does mom come up and make some recommendations? How do we arrive at this what is it? What do you kids call it? The drip these days?
Yeah. So I had a couple in my closet, but I knew what tie I wanted. I wanted a tie that was kind of like this design, but Gamecock colors. And I mean, it was kind of rough to find it. But then I found one in Florence at Butler's, which is Mark Butler's store in Florence. And then it was like I had became between a gray suit and a black suit, and then black goes with everything. It's Gamecock colors, so it went hand in hand.
That is a very good look for you. All right, let's move to another question for you. You're not much of a talker. You probably don't listen to us. We tend to kind of make fun of you around here sometimes because most of your clips are 12 to 18 seconds. I think a couple of weeks ago we had 8 clips from you and they didn't even total a minute. So as I look up, they're showing your highlights. You have big play. You get very animated. So when you're playing video, when you're playing the college football game with the guys back in the dorm, give me some good Lenoris Sellers trash talk, or do you just make a play and look at them?
It really just depends if you're playing online or if it's like in the moment, if it's a close game or whatever. Like you talk a little trash, obviously it comes out then. But then it's back to focus real quick because then they'll probably end up doing something good or I'll do something stupid, getting too cocky.
Go ahead, Tyler. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do have to ask, obviously, you're garnering a lot more attention this year, given how you played last year. We see you on Heisman list and all those kind of things projected as a high pick in the NFL draft. How do you compartmentalize that? And I know you guys talk about blocking it out, but you can't ignore when people are talking about you at the same time. What's that kind of challenge like for you of balancing all that as you go into this season?
Really just taking it day by day. Like it's a lot of talk. People just in my ear left and right, just saying stuff, expectations, proud of me, stuff like that. So it's kind of like just taking it day by day, not getting ahead of myself, not thinking too far in the future, but not also thinking in the past either.
And I know you're probably not going to remember this. Last time I saw you was at Darlington in spring of last year when you were hanging out in the pits before the race. And I went up, we talked, we took a picture and everything, but there was nobody paying you any attention. And again, you're taller than everybody else, stick out like a sore pink thumb, but nobody really knew who you were. And I imagine now that's a whole lot different. You can't really go anywhere, especially in Columbia, without getting noticed. I mean, what's it like kind of living this almost celebrity-esque type of life now as you go through your next couple years of college here?
Yeah, people recognize me, stuff like that. And it's just pretty much like everywhere I go. So, I mean, I'm not really like I try to give people time of day when I see them because It's kind of like that can make a big difference in somebody else's life. Like what's nothing to me might mean everything to them. So it's kind of like you want to give everybody the time of day. You never know what they're going through and stuff. So smile, shake their hand, take a picture. It'll take 30 seconds. So.
By the way, Brad Keselowski hasn't won since you were there before him that day. He might want you back on his pit box.
Okay. Oh yeah. Definitely. I'll definitely do it. That was fun. I had a good time.
Gamecock quarterback Lenoris Sellers right now joining Tyler in Atlanta, joining us. What has it been like for you? Because you obviously committed to Shane Beamer. 2 years with Dow Loggins. What has that transition been like now for you with Coach Shula going back to last December, going through the bowl game, going through the spring, and now where you're at today?
Yeah, it was super smooth. Like I knew Shula already, so it wasn't like we start from square zero, like relationship-wise, but it's more of just like him asking me like what I'm seeing, him telling me what I'm seeing, and then we're just compromising and coming up with a solution to whatever problems we had. Or if we want a new player or something, just ask me what I think, play names, what to call different plays, what I'm seeing, what he's seeing. So.
And how beneficial for you, and this just goes for Dow Loggins as well because he was at Arkansas, how beneficial is it for you to have two quarterbacks and two offensive coordinators that not only played the position, but played the position within this conference, kind of understand the grind and what you have to deal with when you're playing against high-level competition like you do week in and week out?
Yeah, they understand everything that goes into it because, like you said, they've experienced it. And then, like even with them being in NFL, they've talked to and coached like different guys, different personalities, and who take coaching different ways and stuff like that. So them being able to adjust just makes it easier for us to be able to talk and communicate.
I want to go back to the Shula thing there and what you talked about. What was his role with you last year in terms of being on the sideline with you, or maybe talking between plays, and how that transitions to y'all's communication not being much different this year?
So he was on the field with me last year. So he has like game, like raw footage pretty much of me if I was super like into the game or emotional or anything like that. So, I mean, he pretty much knows me pretty well. And then it's like, hey, hey, like, what are you seeing? And he just gives me like a call sheet. He's like, what do you think would be good plays, or what do you like right here? And D'Lo just talked to him. He's like, hey, tell him everything about doing this. And then if I need to tell D'Lo something, he'll be the one to give me contact with D'Lo and all that. So
Now, is he going to be on the field again this year? Or is he going to be up in the press box calling plays?
I ask him that all the time. He tells me to wait until August 31st every time I ask him. So
Now, do you have
he's just going to surprise you. You're just going to be standing there. He's going to come up, tap you on your shoulder. Hey, I'm here.
we gonna see.
Now, would you prefer him to be down at field level again?
Yeah, I prefer him to be back on the field just because that's what we did last year too. So, but if he needs to see something, he probably need to be in the press box. But,
yeah, because that's the trade-off.
Yeah.
Just a few minutes left with Lenora Sellers. So your brother enters the program now. What is the role of being big brother and the role of being teammate? Do you put him in a headlock if he drops a pass? Do you encourage him as a teammate, or do you treat him maybe like you did a few years ago when y'all were living under your parents' roof?
When we're on the field, like actually doing football stuff, I'm treating him more like a teammate, just letting him figure out his ways. Same thing if we are lifting weights or anything, just treating him like a teammate. If he's struggling, I'm not gonna go and like pick it up for him and like do it for him, but I'll be there supporting him. But once we get home or off the field or anything like that, it's kind of like, dude, like what were you even thinking right there? Like,
well, not to mention he's exposing your secrets about being afraid of thunder. Well, what's up with that?
That was more like when I was younger. I wasn't scared of thunder. I didn't like thunder and lightning, but my thing, what I actually feared was tornadoes. But every time it was thunderstorm, we'd get the tornado watch or warning, that thing. So
okay.
It's like that, and then it's like it's silent, and you just hear like that. It's kind of like, oh gosh, what's going to happen now? And he'd be like, dude, are you serious? Like, come on, bro. And I'd be like, all right, the tornado come and then they will suck the house up. Then what?
Now, are you afraid when visiting somebody else's venue this year they might break out some of those sounds to kind of throw you off or something?
No, I'm not afraid of it no more. It's just kind of like I know what it is.
Well, I know you're not afraid of now, but you think they might try it? Like, hey, maybe this will get in his head.
Just depending on the fans and then the students, it's going. You'll see.
See, you have to win a game in like a lightning storm to get this to go away completely. They'd be like, "Guy, he's not afraid of it anymore."
No. Don't play a game in a lightning storm. You got a career.
Well, maybe not maybe at least in like a downpour.